here.
I think it's gonna be a
Todd?
motion to go in exec for number 8.
Okay.
It was actually approved that way when that position was created. It was created as an administrator.
When was it created?
Oh,
The new one?
remember this has been open for what, a year and a half, 2 years? Not quite 2 years, I don't think. So when it was originally created, it was, came across as an administrator spot.
And I thought that we changed it back.
With board action, or?
I don't know if it's word action, but I know he said something about changing it. I was just wondering if this will, check it
Well,
out.
if that happened, I wasn't aware.
Okay.
I'll call the meeting to order at 5:30. Do we have flags on? Before we get started, I know Tim and I went to Ed's funeral, Ed Murray's funeral today, and he gave us a lot of years. So I mean, I would like to offer a moment of silence for Ed. Thank you. I need a motion. Which one is Linda?
I'll move.
First by Linda,
I'll second.
second by Shelley. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. 5-0. I look, nobody's contacted you about anything. Number 5, superintendent report.
So I put this information up on Office 365 last week, so you'd have a chance to look at it. And it's some of the topics that we have a group that's starting to tackle some of these and get some recommendations started for us. So we have, from that group, we have subcommittees starting. We had busing, we had maintenance, we had teachers, we had principals. Well, I guess we didn't have teachers, but they were invited. Nursing staff, so that we can start putting a plan together off the Smart Start, the guidelines that we've been given. So I just wanted you to know that the assumptions from the state are there, and then the expectations for schools. So those will be the guiding principles that we're working under. And then the discussion guides are the next things, to open schools to students, what that could possibly look like. And we're gonna have to have a layered, depending on where we're at in the community with active cases, those kinds of things. And then the state, other people will be involved like if there's an active case in a school, they will guide us as well. So there's some comfort in some of that. So those subcommittees are pulling people in and getting ideas of what that'll look like in the different schools, because every school is so different. Transportation, there's a checklist for transportation. I have Jim working on that, going back to the bus driving group, talking about that. Some people were jumping the gun a little bit, do we need extra people on the bus to read temps, those kinds of things. So we're like, let the bus drivers tell us what they need, and then we'll go from there, because they can't drive and do some of those other responsibilities, so that might make other staff people's days look different. They may have to start earlier and be done earlier in the day to help with monitoring temperatures, those kinds of things. So and then there's the facility group looking at if our facilities are ready, if we have everything we need there, and if we've gone through stuff and as prepared as we should be. Building entrance decisions, things that we need to think about. You know, what are we going to have done there in those situations? So, and we have some good people help guide us with Roxanne and Deanne, and then inviting other people in on those conversations. Classroom design decisions, you know, you're going to have a couple different ideas. You know, with are you going to bring half the kids at a time? We talked about half day, but that makes transportation look a lot different, and is that even feasible? That's what the bus garage has to help us, or bus drivers have to help us know if that's even something that's feasible. If it's not, there's no need planning that. You know, what can we order so more people aren't touching the same things? What are things that we can minimize that way? So we're making mass orders instead of each school trying to do their own. What can we do collectively that makes more sense? And then social distancing. Again, our schools vary so much, so it's going to look different. I know the high schools already looked at the size of their classrooms and what that would look like for them. So, you know, that's what everybody needs to do, is look at, you know, how many students can a classroom accommodate. And then I put the checklist there so you can look at that. There's a checklist for the bus drivers, so there's a couple that's nice to help out. And then Chad was helping with another committee with the technology part. We actually ended up meeting at the same time, so I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about what technology was talking about and what we're going to try to accomplish with that.
Okay, we had one meeting. Krista's also on that committee, heading it up in addition to the tech staff, and Brian Burnett was at this meeting also. We're looking at a way to come up with a learning platform that'll be consistent across all grades, across the entire district. We also had conversation in regards to, you know, trying to fit the various tracks that we could be on. We're trying to plan for the worst case scenarios. What would it look like with flex learning the entire time? So we're in the process of coming up with some technology ideas there. After our first meeting, we've gone out and gone ahead. We decided that we're going to try to work towards a Chromebook concept for all students, 4th through 12th grade. We're looking at those tablets that do not have Wi-Fi access for K-3, but it has specific reading and math programs on there for those kids in order to have that. So we're looking at getting those purchased also. As we go here, we're going to end up having to meet and come up with policies that we're going to put into place, and, you know, in order to track this stuff. But we have decided that we did go ahead and put in a big order, because we've got to understand that every school district across the country is dealing with these things now. So we did put in an order for 1,600 Chromebooks, and we got that done last week. So we will meet again on Wednesday. Like I said, we're looking at one spot so that doesn't matter a parent, the machine's going to come up and direct you right to where that kid needs to be. So we're looking at whatever that platform is. I know they were having a meeting with outfit called Schoolology, which is doing that. There's an opportunity through Infinite Campus, which is why we had Brian at that meeting. So we're going to look at what's going to integrate best. Teachers will be allowed to teach within this format. and Krista's gonna be able to speak to this much better than me, but in order to be able to have a teacher say that wants to use an outside platform, they're gonna have to come through Krista's office in order to get it on onto this computer. Technology's excited, you know, the staff themselves, so we're rolling as far as that committee goes, so.
Lots of work to do.
You want to report?
No, mainly, we have these subgroups working on these tasks. We're meeting again on Wednesday as well. We're gonna be very diligent about getting this done. I told them, mid-July, we wanna have this pretty well firmed, laid out for everybody, so everybody kind of has an idea. And we're not gonna know what the beginning of the year is gonna look like probably till then anyway, so.
You did mention that each school has their committee because of the diversity of
No,
the school.
what we're doing is the district umbrella. This is what you will do, and then within that you can do the attendance center things you need to do. Like, everybody's gonna do the same technology format, because that was very confusing for parents last year, or last spring. So we'll have some umbrella things, and then, just like what we do with pretty much everything, then underneath that, you can do what your individual building needs to, like, how kids would come to school is gonna look very different at Klein than it is at the middle school. So they need some latitude on that to kind of have their own conversations with their administration, and transportation's gonna be part of that as well. So, whether we have parents, if we aren't gonna provide the transportation, can parents still drive their kids there then and participate? So, there's some deep diving to do yet.
But I think, as a school board, we need to have a handle on this, because we get asked questions from constituents from a lot of the schools, and, we get accused of not walking our talk, Sometimes we're guilty of it, but, you're gonna be on top of making sure that these are done, and then we'll that communication key again.
I think that what happens, Deb, is that, they get the information together and then bring it to you and help understand that, because they're the ones that know those buildings, and I can't tell you what nursing needs are.
I understand that too.
Yeah,
but
so
I
you're
mean,
welcome. Well, if one of you wants to join, or two of you wants to join the committee that we're doing on Wednesday, so you have a better grasp, it's pretty general information yet.
I'm not asking for that, but I just wanna make sure that, in your reporting that,
Yep.
that we know, because of
Yep.
and maybe some of the other board members can ask questions, but this is me talking, because that
Well-
communication, and this comes from Department of Ed, and it's health and safety, and that's
Right.
where we're here.
Well, and that's what this committee's called, health and safety. It started with Deanne and I having a conversation and talking about we need to bring more people in on some of the decisions. And then this information just came out off the press, so it's pretty fresh. But as more decision or more conversations happen, I will continue to, it will get more specific. So you will know, and then you can communicate. But I think at some point, you guys do need to join in on some of those conversations, and wherever you're comfortable doing that. Sometimes they get changed pretty quickly, like last week, Deanne had a meeting, so we switched it from Wednesday to Thursday, so.
And that, we know that happens day to day.
Right.
It can change. But, I think it's an important task.
Yeah.
And
Well-
mine was just to ask questions for information.
The other thing that's gonna happen, or what I see happening, is there's gonna be a section in the handbook, what we will name it, I don't know, COVID procedures or whatever, that will handle some of this, that you guys will approve. So you're gonna look at it and approve it before, and then that becomes the same as policy. That's how we'll handle those situations. So, as we get those things ready, you'll get them beforehand so you can ask questions.
Does anybody else have any questions in regards to this?
I don't have a question, but I wanted to share that I watched a webinar through the National School Board Association, and it was about starting schools back up. And they talked, the first part of it was talking about the financial part of it. And then they talked about what happened that last semester in their schools, and the schools were in Minnesota and Illinois. And the main thing they did when they got done with school was collect a lot of data to find out how successful what they did, how successful it was. And then from there, they looked at some of the questions that were coming up, and one of them was not so much questions but concerns. Bus drivers are concerned about driving the buses. Older teachers are worried. Those with compromised immune systems are worried, and their way of finding out how to answer that was to do some surveys, to survey the staff, survey the community, finding out how they feel about starting up school. So it was really a lot of data and a lot of gathering information to make the decisions that they have to make. And they talked about food distribution, which we had to deal with, changing some of their routes and stuff where, and I think which would be appropriate here, if you live in Parmalee, you go to school in Parmalee, that would cut down on some of that burden of driving kids all over the place. But it was really informative, and they're gonna do another one, I think every week, and it's through the National School Board Association, and I think Wednesday's the next one. But it really gave a lot of information. They're doing enrollment now to find out if the enrollment is gonna go down because people don't wanna send their kids to school without a vaccine. So those are some things I thought were really important that we might wanna consider as you're working on how you're gonna start the school
I
year.
think too, we talked about the option of if parents are uncomfortable, and we haven't gotten to that point yet, like if they choose to go 100% technology for their learning, what does that look like? What do we do? And we're talking about hotspots. We're talking about a lot of different things. The dorm call today, they're willing to help out with some of that for those kids. They're so there's other people reaching out to us as well about
And they all had Chromebooks, every student, but the one school didn't have a K2 population, and they didn't know how, but they thought for them it'd be best for them to do sight learning.
Yeah.
But it was just really very informative, I thought, that would give us really help. But they're doing a hybrid model where one day this group comes, the next day another group comes. So there's just a lot of things that they're trying differently. So and I think it starts at 1 o'clock.
And the Associated School Boards has I don't want to say checklist, but a bullet list for you guys to look at as well on their site. So things to think about from the board level. I can share that with you too. Send it out.
Anybody else have any questions from the superintendent's report?
So after you have this meeting, you're gonna inform the board at the next meeting what you're coming up with.
Yeah, we'll just keep, trying to work forward with this. Like, every school is gonna have to have, like, how are you gonna bring students to school? And it's gonna look different in town really than probably out of town, those kinds of things. So as they get or define that a little more and work on that, we'll keep adding to these, and there'll be more of these as well, so.
And you mentioned it anyway, you said that as you get it, you can
Right.
send it to us, so we'll have the information
Yep.
before
Yep.
the board meeting, so we'll be ready for discussion.
And I think every time I do put this up there, it emails to you guys so you know I've added something up there, so.
One of the things they mentioned too, Deb, was communication, to make sure that there's a lot of transparency and that you ask all those where questions for the community and for the parents. And to be honest and say, we don't know about this, but we do know this, so everybody knows what's going on.
We're all in this together, so.
Right. And just remind people, there's some information like graduation that goes up on the website quite frequently that, if we can get people used to looking there for our information more, that will be beneficial as well. One place, just kind of like Parents for the Technology, when we start pushing that out. It's going to be a lot of, there's not going to be the face-to-face and you know, the things that we're used to, so.
How are you gonna handle handicap accessibility
Or,
for the graduation? You can't park inside the
Yeah.
field, and you can't park in the street. That's one question I have, is how they're gonna deal with the handicap, if it's needed.
well, I think you could drop off, you know, and then, we can have someone there to help get, you know, the individuals up there, and, I can ask the administration to have some reserve parking. There is some reserve parking, but it's not necessarily for the track.
Yeah.
The track is pretty accessible in itself, but the parking is not overly friendly. And that's kind of for a lot of our entrances, so. Good question. Mhm. Yeah, that parking lot over here closest to the track would make sense to have some, you know, reserved. Or maybe in the high school, or the CTE area somewhere. Yeah.
There's nothing else. We'll go on to number 7, consent agenda. Do you want a motion to approve? Moved by Shelley,
Second.
second by Michelle. All in favor?
Yes.
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 5-0, none opposed. Eight personnel items.
7.
Seven.
17. Do I have a motion to recommend to vote for Tom Culver?
I'll second.
Michelle? Second by Linda. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 5-0, none opposed. Now, number 8.
Motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into exec. By Tim.
I'll second.
By Tim. Second by Shelley. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
5-0.
Personnel.
Personnel.
5:51.
Yeah.
Personnel.
Personnel.